Well, good Sunday morning to everybody, and welcome to Chatting with Charles. I have my special guest, Ben Coombs, over here, working on the hand motion still.
Right. I'm usually on the other side, so I'm used to looking this way. I got to look this way. Hey!
But, so in the green room, we were talking about how far off the rails is this thing really going to go?
It's not even on the rails.
All right, so let's look and see who we've got in the chat already. And Ben, you want to take a guess at who number one was?
Being that it's the Charles 75N channel, it's got to be Herb at Fireside Studio.
And normally you'd be right.
Not Herb?
Right. It's not Herb.
All right, then honorary runner-up, first runner-up, as they say, Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall would have been third.
Dang it! Well, it wasn't me. I'm not up that early.
Wasn't you?
You? No.
No, it wasn't me.
William De Silva?
No, it was Dennis Ellis.
Dennis Ellis. Well, he is a wild man. I've heard things about that guy.
He is a character, all right.
Yeah, almost much a character. This guy here we go. This guy sets up the show last night. Does he send me the StreamYard link? No, he sent me the YouTube link. Although a fella now just thought about could have shared it on his community tab. But
yeah. Well, it was. What I really wanted you to see was the thumbnail.
Oh, well, there was waiting. Well, I saw it. I was wrapping up a video when he sent it, and then I had it on the big TV. I'm like, oh, I was the first like.
There you go.
Wow, we've had a bunch of people in the chat. All the ne'er-do-wells, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. We have Dennis Ellis. We have Herb of Fireside Studios. We have Ryan Hall.
283 ain't bad. That's what Meatloaf said.
And followed quickly by Ferd Burfel.
Of course.
Cushman NYC. Wayne McConnell.
Oh, excuse me.
Presley California Customs.
Never heard of him.
No. It rings a bell, but I can't quite place it, Yep. Let's see. Bonkers is in early, and Ryan of OU812.
Sweet. Well, he's on later today. 5 hours.
Yeah, he's on later today, and hopefully I'll get a chance to look at it. My afternoon.
Mr. Let's one up in the guitar community. Most of us just yap about guitars. He's like, let's actually play them on a show. Like, easy there.
And play them well. And play them well.
That cuts down the lifestyle choices during. Well, no, it doesn't, because Mondays I try to multitask. I do lifestyle choices and play. Well, I don't play like him. I don't have backing tracks. I don't have tone. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we also have Hobo Roadie.
He's a character too.
Yeah, and we have our good friend Charles Green, who is going to be really mad at me because I haven't been able to work on his guitar in a week.
That's the message, Charles.
So Charles, you're going to get a message from Ben
right now.
Right now.
Well, I was going to say I was going to take a page out of your book, but actually I'm taking a page out of my book.
Yeah. We're just reading the same book, that's all. Welcome in, Jim Cox. All right. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. So, we have the Ben Coombs on the channel today, and we're going to see if we can't unwrap the mystery that is Ben.
Good luck. Professionals tried for years. Did we say hi to Jim Cox? We did say hi to Jim Cox.
We did say hi to Jim Cox, yes.
Now the post-nasal's gone to both nasal cavities. Perfect. Sorry, folks. I don't know. I would say allergies, but no, it's like borderline freezing and raining for days on end. So it's all up in here.
Yeah, it is that time of year in your part of the world, for sure.
Tis. So yes, the interview, as they say, if you were Rick Beato, it would be the Ben Coombs interview, because he put as much thought into his titles as a guy who calls the show the Sunday Night Hang, which I think I got thrown under the bus last week, by the way, Charles.
From, really?
From Boston. He's like, I try to come up with a theme every week with my titles. It's not just a Saturday Night Hang every week. And I'm like, hey, that hit awfully close to home.
That was not just a run over. It was a backup.
That was the shot at the bow where, I felt the splash, Charles. I felt the splash. I heard it, the Rick O'Shea, ding, right by, like easy.
The thing was, it was great because when he said it, then the smile flashed across his face. He's like, I did that.
Yeah, you did that. Yeah. Instead, I thought I came up with a name for it. I used to do the show on Sunday afternoons, Charles, ironically, 4 p.m. Eastern, and it was called the Sunday Chat. Sound familiar, Ryan? I know. You're always, hey, I don't mean to rip you off. I'm like, Ryan there, time. But that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That, what? Years.
See, I'm not saying anything because I ripped so much off from you. It's not funny. But of course,
with you had a theme song with me playing on it, and I didn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I still use my old theme songs, which is not me playing. Get over it. Yeah, I know. I love it, Ryan, because that's like I don't know what I'm going to call it. I go on, I chat. Sunday chat. Not that I was going through some older videos the other day, Charles. What's up, Blackjack Guitar, Phil Canuck with guitars.
Yeah. Welcome in, Blackjack.
Kush. So where did it all begin? Is that your first question?
Well, yeah. What I want to always know, the most important, interesting thing to me is how someone gets started down their guitar journey.
All right.
Right. You have some things built into your household, but how does it really start for you, though?
All right. So it wasn't a matter if, but when. And that's not even like playing in a band or like that wasn't even like that was the end goal.
Dear junkie.
Maybe a fella can make a career at it. Holy crap. How early is it in Alaska, Lawrence? I'm pretty sure it's like 7 a.m. And on a Sunday at 7 a.m., oof to May, that's a bedtime, not a get up time.
Oh, this is wrong.
That's almost like not bad for a Canadian, Charles. That's, Well, no, although if I look at, I know where I got my start, so I can go back to one crappy show too. See,
there you go.
Only 4 hours behind. Here we are. So, as far as playing guitar, I knew I would play guitar. Because when I was really little, I don't remember my dad being in a band until I was 8, 9 years old. I know he was trying to put some stuff together previous to that, but he wasn't actually gigging. They never made it a fun fact. For every bad bar band you see, there's 4 that never make it out of the garage or the basement or the rehearsal space, just for a variety of reasons. Charles, it could be bass player never shows up half the time for practice, so you never that fully firing on all cylinders to get out there and actually do it. So anyway, so I knew I was going to play. The amount of road trips, every time we go up to see my godparents, the D28 was in the backseat with Amanda and me, we're going. So I remember before we even moved down here, early recollection, Charles, one of my earliest recollections, I would have been aged 3 when we were still living north of Toronto in a townhouse. And I remember having to go to bed early. I was like, I don't want to go to bed early. I don't have to get up early. I'm 3. I don't have a job. I don't go to school. I don't need to be there. But no, Dad had a bunch of friends coming over. All right. Now, the caveat was one of his friends was bringing over some pop for me. And I love me some pop, even at that age. Something And there was, I still remember it, Charles, one of those 750 ml glass bottle Schweppes ginger ale, which really is mixed.
My.
What I got the leftover mix.
Yes, you got into the mix.
Yeah, because there was always 2 kinds of empty pop bottles when Dad had his friends over. There's Coke bottles or Pepsi bottles, depending on your habit, and empty ginger ale bottles. Oddly, never an empty whiskey bottle though, because I think the fellows always they took it home for a nightcap. They had just a sliver left for night. What's up, Han 36 old? So yeah, it was just a matter of that. And then fast forwarding, seeing my dad jam. Sup, Rico B.
You're doing it for me.
So,
I'm just gonna sit back here and do nothing.
all you do, that's all I do, Charles. You just press buttons, and then you hire somebody to do that for you after a while. But he's asleep.
Morning, Rico. Morning, Han Solo 36.
I did not hear back from. I just saw Charles Green in the chat. I did not hear back from Charles Green. So there we go. What's up, Steven? So, okay. So your dad jamming with people was one thing, Charles. award shows. Watching award shows with my mom she loved award shows. And then I realized, even by like age 7 or 8, I like the music award shows. Not so big on the acting shows,
Right.
Because the acting shows didn't have as much live music on it. Once in a while, you'd have like Christopher Cross doing his, I'm going to come out and perform the theme from Arthur. Okay. Fine. Which is great through the 80s once soundtracks got really cool. Then you had, right. Oh, there. All right. Booked a guest for 2 weeks from tonight. Want to guess who it is?
Would it be Charles Green?
It would be Charles Green, in fact, yes. Yes. So the month of December is now booked. So, award shows, God, that looks like so much fun. And, I saw Kiss on TV, and I went, that Ace Frehley dude, that's the dude, right? He's got smoke coming out of his guitar, Charles. It's like, that's shredding. The guitar is on fire.
It's on fire.
And then and then Van Halen with Eddie with the smile. And I went, hey, he looks like he's having fun. Didn't realize his lifestyle choices putting the grin on the face as well, And so he is. He's a tone detective. And so and so I remember saying to my dad, I want to learn how to play guitar. Yeah, you're too young. I want to learn how to play guitar. Yeah, you're too young. Had a little Framus guitar I drag around the yard, wasn't tuned or anything, Come on, show me. And I think it was around 8 or 9 years old. I actually got my one and only guitar lesson formally, Charles, from my father.
Okay.
Because one of the neighbor kids got a guitar as well. And he said, hey, Dave, can you show me a couple of things? And my dad's like, sure. I'm like, what the fuck? He's the same age as me. He ain't teaching me shit. So I fell up, grabbed his Framus, right? Got it tuned, Charles. Ooh, Dad tuned it.
That's important.
And he showed us both Memphis 2-string in the key of A because it's open. A to D, E, boom. Nice, easy peasy, wine and cheesy. You go there, deal with that. And I was just like, huh. Now, granted, it was dun 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 dun. For those who don't know, I don't know. Can a fella illustrate? Sure. Yeah. So he showed us all downstrokes, just. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I didn't know, Charles, is if you got I was like, yeah, it's Chuck Berry. That's old people music. If you eliminate that and you just go, oh, didn't realize it though because I was 8 or 9 years old. I thought you had to, and then Dad, show me some. No, you're too young. You're too young. You're too young.
You're too young.
So finally,
I could show you, but you wouldn't understand.
Well, no, because he didn't want me playing for a week and a half and giving up on it. Like if you're going to commit. So I said, okay. So came around the summer of 1988. Just finished 8th grade, which is, usually right around that time. A lot of people jump into the guitar-shaped objects. And I said, Dad. He says, what? I want to learn to play bass. Oh? Wasn't hypnotic. I was like, yeah. He says, why do you want to learn how to play bass? I said, well, I've learned something. I've been paying attention, hanging out in this music community of his, right? Mm-hmm. We had discussed it on my dad's tribute show last week, going to the Sterling Theater for the showcase events and this and that. And what I realized was, Charles, that in the 3+ years that he was in the Country Raiders, they had like 4 bass players. Okay. And they were always looking for a bass player, more importantly. Okay. Because half the bass players, like 2 of the 4 they had, those guys were in like 3 bands at once. Fine. Want to play bass. Dad says, great. You always be in 3 bands at once. He's also learned to sing backup. That was, you want to learn to play bass? Yeah. Also learn how to sing. I'm like, wait, what? What's up, Terry, by the way? I was like, why do we got to learn how to sing? He looked at me and goes, because anybody with talent also sings in the band. Oh. Whether it be backing vocals at the very least, or, again, let's turn it back to Kiss. Best thing about Kiss, all 4 members of the band could sing. Show me another band, that famous band, where all the band members could sing. I'm not saying they all can now, because with the substitutes and such, but originally, those 4 guys, they could all sing. So, okay. And so Dad's like, well, we'll need to find you a bass. I said, yeah. He goes, what's your budget? I'm like, 14. I don't know what my budget is. You tell me what my budget is. Well, a fella can snag on a good, used Japanese bass.
Mm-hmm.
So we got myself a P bass knockoff by an everybody remember Eldegas? Eldega, maybe 2 words, E-L and then D-E-G-A-S. Look just like all natural black pickguard. I remember still had the belt buckle over the 2 pickups, so you couldn't lock the top. Right? I was like, hard shell case with yellow fur interior.
The yellow fur is the key. That's when you get quality.
Well, and it wasn't hard for Dad to find. It was one phone call. He called up Randy Forsyth, one of his former bass players in the band, who was the guy before Kevin, and he said, "Hey," he says, because you remember he was one of those guys kept the bass under the bed. A lot of musicians kept their guitars on the bed because that was the only where kids were in the fucking room. That's why he was under the bed. He says, "Yeah, you still got your bass under the bed?" "Yep." "You want to get rid of it?" "Sure." "How much?" $100. Why? Because that's what Dad sold it to him for when he got it. There was another buddy that hit Dad's before. So $100 got you into a bass with a hard shell case. Okay. Need an amp. Dad being a member of the union. You remember Buddy just retired for gigging about a year and a half earlier, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And you relocated. Retirement residence being a double wide in the trailer park. So he's downsizing. So felt, "Hey, you still got your bass rig?" "I sure do." "Want to sell it?" "Sure." $100. GBX, big solid state bass amp. Boom. So I got stage rig for $200. Now I didn't have $200, but I did have a job. And what that job entailed me to do, Charles, is get my wages garnished at the restaurant. No, mohair, not the dingle balls. There was no dingle balls. No. So got that, played that for a few months, Charles, and I went, boom, boom, boom. No, boring. I want to learn how to play guitar. So by that point, Dad realized, okay, he's into it. He's into it. So I told him, I want to learn how to play guitar. He goes, okay, well, use my gear until you get some of your own. Okay, fine. I got this old Telecaster, which, remember, this is the fall of 88, Charles. Fall of 1988. A blonde Telecaster ain't exactly a cool guitar. The only thing less cool would probably be like a 335 or something. What's that, jazz? Can't play no Motley Crue on that. That's what you're thinking. Into the Vibrolux that has no gain, as referenced last week, no gain. And so, okay.
Cheers, Dennis.
So I got my own. And which, again, fortunately, working in the family restaurant, I was able to get gear without having the money to get gear. Oh, you're one of those rich kids. No. My parents didn't buy me the gear, Charles. They loaned me the money and then garnished the wages. $20, $25 a week or whatever, at the bare minimum, because you're only making like $100 a week, 2 nights a week, washing dishes, working in the kitchen, busboy. Yeah, right? Right, Jim? So I decided, to keep it, it was like an omen, Charles. I thought, how is a fellow going to remember? If someone asked, when did you start playing guitar? I always want to be able to remember the date.
Right.
So I kept thumping on the bass through New Year's Eve, 1988. So January 1st, 1989, Ben picks up the Telecaster. So I can tell you exactly how long I've been playing guitar for. Okay. Now, not throughout every day, because there's times like we get into adulthood and you put it aside for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only dishwasher, Eddie. Only. Until we hired most of my friends in high school worked at the restaurant too.
Right. As cheap labor.
Those who wanted to work. And so fast forward probably springtime, I want to say, Charles.
Okay.
Saw an ad in the newspaper. I don't know why we're going with this. Saw an ad in the paper. Electric guitar and amplifier and pedals. Pedals. I'd heard about pedals. Okay. So it's a Friday night, and we arranged to meet up at like 7:30 p.m. Guy wanted to keep it early. Keith H. So.
Hey, Keith.
Right. Nice. So let's see. So we saw in the paper guitar. Oh, and Dad's like, "What kind of guitar do you want?" I'm like, "I want a Lester Pulfus." You don't want those. I say, "You do." I'm saying and that was the other thing. Like people would say, "Oh, the '80s, everybody wanted a shredder guitar." No, I wanted a Les Paul. He's Freely played a Les Paul. This new kid on the scene, Slash, was playing a Les Paul.
Mm.
Joe Perry played Les Pauls. Tom Kiefer from Cinderella played a Les Paul. No, they do not. Years and Janice.
Oh, Janice.
You'll love this, Charles. My dad, because I wanted him to go along. One, I didn't drive, and two, he knew how to play guitar. I didn't really know how to play, so I wanted to make sure it was okay and blah, blah, blah. Right? So it becomes around 7 p.m. We hop in Dad's Camaro, which later became my Camaro. It's at 28, if you will.
Mm.
Up the road. First, on our way out the door of the restaurant, Charles, on our way out the door of the restaurant where, we pulled in a kitchen staff to cover on the dishes because I had to go buy a guitar. Dad walks up to the cash register, Charles, shishing with the no sale, grabs all the bills out, all the 20s out. Friday night, it's the busiest day of the year or day of the week, okay? Because he doesn't know. Because, he's one of the, how much for everything? So he grabs like $1,000 out of the till. Okay. I'm like,
some money. Yeah, that's some serious money in that time.
Yeah. And my mom just rolled her eyes. Because it's Friday night, Charles. The money wouldn't go into the bank until Monday anyways, right?
Right.
So Dad's like, how much money do you have? I'm like, I've got about $200, Charles. I say I managed to put together like $200 by that point.
Okay.
I didn't have it on me. It's in the bank. So I wouldn't spend it. So we drive up to Buddy's house. On the door. And he goes, hey, you're here. He goes, okay, we got to make this quick. Buddy will be here in 10 minutes to pick me up. I'm leaving town. And I immediately thought, you've lost all negotiating powers, Charles.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we go in, and I open up the guitar case, and there's a 72 Les Paul Deluxe.
Ooh.
I didn't realize it had mini humbuckers. I just saw the humbuckers. I didn't, because I've never seen I saw a couple $500.
Kind of new to it, so what do you know, right?
Exactly. That's why I brought my dad along, right? Tobacco burst. Hard shell case. He's got a Hohner keyboard amp, solid state with a single 15. Okay. And so I pluck around on it a bit. I was like, okay, I think it's good. And I go to hand it to Dad, right? Charles, so he can check it out. He goes, well, what do you think? I'm like, fuck you, take it. And he's like, no. And so I said, what do you want for the guitar? And he says, well, I'd like to sell everything, Charles.
Yeah.
He wanted $600 for the guitar. Okay. Which I get because locally in music stores, you couldn't find a new Les Paul. Okay. So they're all 70s Les Pauls. They were either black or gold tops with a ton of buckle rash. And this one had some noodling. It didn't have the big scar, So I was like, okay, exactly, Beast Rich. What's up, buddy? And So I'm looking, and he's got the guitar. Like you said, he's got the Hohner amp, which I figure any amp that's loud is worth $100.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's got a Boss CE2 chorus pedal.
All right. And we know how you feel about
MXR Distortion Plus OG without the LED even. And MXR was out of business at the time.
Right.
Okay. And to buy a Boss pedal, they were basically the same price they are now because they charged through the nose at Arden's. They were like $200 for a Boss pedal at that time. So I was like, wow. Well, if these pedals are worth $50 a piece and the amps, so that's $200 right there. And that, okay. $750 for all of it. The guy's like, sold. Loaded it all into the Camaro, barely. Not exactly like we should have taken the minivan, but we didn't.
You think?
I want to be cool. Ooh, it's that. The hair and the smile. It's that. So we get back, and so what it costs, okay. Went down the bank the next morning. Got the $200 out of the bank. Gave it to my parents, and then got garnished. Like say, I think I paid through. I think that was like 11 paychecks of $50 a paycheck. Exactly.
Had to put that back up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. And then I took it home. That Distortion Plus did not sound good through the Hohner or the Fender. It's good to hit an already dirty amp, a la Randy Rhoads, but it didn't sound like Randy Rhoads' tribute album tone. It sounded like the Blizzard of Oz album tone. So good. So what I did, Charles, I took the pedal into school, right, to one of my guitar playing buddies. I said, "Hey, this is the Randy Rhoads pedal, Charles." Now remember, Tribute had only been out for about a year, so Randy Rhoads was a big deal again. Sold the guy the pedal for $75. Kind of regret it now. It's an OG pedal, but $75 in 1989, maybe.
That was a deal, right? You made some money on it at that point. It's those money. Things we look back on and say, I wish I hadn't done that, but in the moment, it was a great thing to do.
Sold the pedal too. Okay. Sold the chorus pedal as well. Now you're like, hey, Ben, but you got the Boss CE2. At one time, Charles, I had two because I got another deal on some pedals. And I sold one of the CE2. Well, I had two, and I didn't. Sold one to my dad.
Your dad?
My dad. Because he wanted a chorus pedal for vocals. Because guys would play chorus on vocals at times. And well, okay. He never did anything with it. Then I sold the other one in the 90s, and I went, well, I'll just snag on Dad's, and it's now mine again. Because that's what you do with your parents. Because you dance.
Right. Especially when they're not using it.
I'm not even sure if he even paid me for it anyways. I actually did. He just took $50 out of the cash register.
Probably. and then doctor pay for it later.
Do you still have the deluxe? No, sadly, my dad sold that deluxe in the mid 90s. I was living in Windsor, Ontario at the time. What's up, William? That was I want to say early 70s deluxe. We ended up selling it for actually sold it to the same guy I sold the Les Paul to, Charles. Sold him a bunch of gear. He was a rep for one of the food companies for the restaurant. You used to have sales reps come into your restaurant each week, and you put in orders with them, right? Because there's no internet, and that's what you did. And literally, you had you give them SKU numbers with amounts and blah blah blah. Okay, worked for a wholesale food company, but he was also a musician, Charles. Also a musician. Ooh. So we ended up selling him my Les Paul, sold him that Vibrolux amp, sold him a beautiful PV microphone that was like $300 at that time. Came in its own little flight case. Never seen that. And we sold him an electric piano, which I want to say was either a Yamaha, wasn't a Fender. So it was Yamaha. Like 70s full-size, weighed like 80, 90, 100 pounds. I just remember that it had the covers. You take the covers off as two-piece covers that covered the top of the keyboard, and those became the legs.
Yeah.
He was unlatched and then latched back on somehow, some way. Did the Z have a sunroof? It did not. Therefore, it didn't leak. It was red and red 80, which I ended up getting off of him and then putting a bigger engine in it. Red with white interior. And Dad had white wall tires on it, Charles. Even though I had the factory sell 5-spoke Kragers in red, the matching Krager, fucking white wall tires. So as soon as I got the car, went into auto shop, flipped the tires over on the rims, and got graded on it. Because the tires were balanced, they held air. What's up, Billy? Billy will be joining me later this evening, part of my cavalcade of stars.
Excellent. Morning, Billy.
That Charles, half the show on one story.
Yeah, I love it.
And you think Ryan Hall's long-winded? No, we don't. Had to do it, Ryan.
Kind of long-winded.
He's like, what'd I do?
All right, so so we've gotten that far. I think I'd like to do something a little bit different. What is like the absolute most piece of shit guitar you bought, but when you bought it, you thought it was great?
My first name is
Josh.
Again, in the mid-90s, I think I told you about it. Bought a BC Rich. Single humbucker. Fender-style trim, fulcrum trim. And it needed to be refinished because it had been, I think it was originally a gloss black, single volume pot.
Mm-hmm.
It was gloss black, then someone repainted it, and then so it ended up, by the time I got it was primer gray. And so rather than sanding on it, Dad's like, no, just put the Ace Frehley sauce all over it, and just use a spatula or something. Really, your Ibanez Prestige? Those are fucking nice, dude. That's when we found out it was a plywood guitar, Charles.
Yeah.
And I remember the neck screws, because of bolt-on neck, they'd been stripped. So the neck wouldn't, as you tuned it up to pitch, you watch your neck literally start.
Yes.
Right. So Dad, we didn't own a drill press, so freehand drills it out, Charles, just with a hand drill. My dad may have used a vise to hold the neck, maybe not. Okay. Now, most people, when they dowel the neck on I think it might have had a rosewood fretboard, you would drill from behind, hog out the, and then dowel it, right, Charles?
Mm-hmm.
Now, my father, he drilled through the fretboard.
Well, the funniest thing about that is being a player for him to do that, right?
Well, you don't play past the 12th fret anyway, so what the fuck does it matter? And he said it's a chintzy plywood guitar anyways. If I don't razz you, it's because I don't love you. But yeah, that thing, and then we flipped it to a buddy's son. I always had a soft spot for the El Cheapo guitars too. So, I bought a lot of $60 pawn shop guitars and sold them for $100 after a setup. But I'm thinking, like biggest I don't know if I'd had a disappointment like in the modern era, if we'll call it. The modern era would be in like 2010 going forward when I got back into music. No. Just happened right up between two frets. But he only did two. He didn't even do all four. He only did two. It was either side of the truss rod. Yeah. My dad. I'm trying to think. I bought an Epiphone 61 Les Paul reissue. Okay, for those who don't know, custom. The creamy SG shaped object, gold hardware, 3 pickups, the Mary Ford model. Charles, I saw it hanging there at the music store. I go, ooh. People were like, hey, I thought you didn't like SGs. Did at that time till I bought one. Worst neck dive ever. Couldn't play it at all. To the point where when I sold it, Charles, it still had the condoms over the pickups.
Oh, wow.
And I basically sold it for what I got out of it. Now, I got into it for about $4.25 Canadian at the time. tax-free.
I think that's hard. Is one of the really hard things is when there's a guitar that you've always wanted and you go and you pick it up and it is nothing like what you thought it would be. And it, that disappointment, you're just like.
That was one of the first Gretches I ever played. First NAMM show, they had a new Tim Armstrong signature Gretsch come out.
Mm-hmm.
I think, my mistake. Brian Setzer signature, the blue one, and I went to play it, and the strings were laying on the fretboard, to the point where you couldn't hear what note you're playing acoustically. It was just buzzing, rattling, and I was so disappointed. That pissed me right off. I'm like, is that NAMM? You're trying to sell these things.
No kidding, right?
So, yeah. Other than that, I'm a firm believer in playing guitar before buying. I'm going to say that now too, Charles, because not to brag, but I played a lot of flipping guitars over the last 5-6 years. Okay.
Right.
And I see the difference. Like I'll pick up 6 of the same guitar and I'll find very subtle, because the nuts, no 2 cut nuts are cut the same. Right. Just the sum of all the parts. They're not, even though they're doing the digicals with the CNCs and the tolerances and stuff, they still all have minds their own. They're still wood with metal.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, and for me, with having the budget that I have, if I'm going to spend real money for guitar, if I'm going to spend real money,
by the way, blackjack guitar. See you, Billy.
Oh.
See, like you, Charles, Billy has to go do stuff now so he can be free later to come play with me.
Yeah, I see how it goes. Okay. My feelings aren't hurt at all. But okay, you go have a good day.
Yeah. I said good day.
But no, I mean, for me, it's like, if I'm going to spend real money on it, I want to touch it and I want to see, is it worth paying that money for?
Now, on the other hand, I've done the opposite where I bought guitars that I don't like because they played so well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I owned a gold top Les Paul for a period of time. Well, I still own it. It's not gold anymore, but it was a beat to hell 1997 made in Korea 57 tribute, I guess they would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was old enough that even though it was made in Korea, it had Gibson on the truss rod cover. Figure that out. And then it had like some really nice pickups in it for whatever reason. And that thing just, and ironically, 57 tribute, Charles, but it had the flat spot in the middle of the back of the neck, which tells you a 60s super slim taper neck. So it had the neck I liked. And that's when I found out I liked those necks. And this thing played and sounded amazing. Looked like crap and was gold top to boot. And I gigged with it multiple times. Practiced with it for hours on end. Needs an output jack. So it's good. Actually, it'll probably be on the channel soon. I'm going to throw an output jack on. This is the one I refinned a number of years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that thing. I was like, I hate gold tops. And Rich is like, take it for $175. I'm like, for that price, how can I say no? There's chunks out of the headstock, like literally chips out of the headstock from it being hit by stuff.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, when you order something, online, you take that chance, and Well,
unfortunately, like if you're dealing with like stale water or something like that, they just send you a way bill, and you're not out too much,
Mm-hmm. Well, in the thing is, I buy a lot of my stuff used and cheap, right?
Yep.
And I buy a lot of stuff I'm buying with the mind of I'm changing it anyway.
Yes.
And so if it plays like crap, okay, we can address that when we get it here.
Right. Which, yeah, more than once, this guy sent me photos. Look what I got. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, all right, you're a friend. How do I let him down easy? I'm like, oh, good for you. And he's like, yeah, $35 going to do this. And that. I'm like, oh, well, geez, for $35, yes. Because meanwhile, I'm like, That's not a guitar. That's a guitar-shaped object. You're like, not when I'm done with it. Used means it's got a story, it has a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not always a good story.
No,
Wow,
not always.
35 years old. It's mint condition. Wonder why? Because it's unplayable. That's why it's in mint condition. That's why I'm really leery about vintage guitars that are like in mint condition. Like, unless you know the guy, it's like the classic car that only has 12 miles on it. The guy took it from the dealership, parked it. Fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way with guitars necessarily. If it, unless it has the hang tags on, but there's no tags and it's in really good shape, and you're like, this thing plays like crap. That's why it was never played. It went back under, in the closet or under the bed or so. Now, if I see one that's beat to hell, as long as it's still got some life left in it, because there is a finite number of songs in a guitar. And I say that because I got to fight the old man's telly on occasion. That fretboard, you start rolling the fretboard edges, Charles, they never stop. So that fretboard's getting narrower and narrower over time. That's what I'm saying. And so it gets to a point where the frets get worn out, the fretboard gets worn out, and that's why Leo made it a bolt-on neck.
Right. That's why Leo is our hero, right? Because it never has to be
right. A lot of things wrong, but got some things right as well. Like the Telecaster shape and everything, perfect. Hit it out of the park first time out. However, vibrato is not tremolo, and tremolo isn't vibrato. And position 1 should be fucking neck pickup on a guitar, not the bridge.
Yeah.
A lot of things you got backwards.
Yeah, there's interesting things you find with these ones you get used. But it's like you begin wanting, you're looking through the ads, or whether it be Facebook Marketplace or whatever it might be, and you're looking at like, right.
I used to buy guitars out of the newspaper.
Yeah. And you're sitting there looking at, you're like, okay, is this someone that said, okay, I'm going to learn guitar and then just gave up and it sat?
Yep.
Or was it something that it was a piece of crap and it just got put under bed? And it's like, well, you got to ask the right questions, right?
Anybody that has a collection of guitars, okay, I'll say this right now. Like, let's say, okay, we know truss rod adjustments need to be done, Charles, right? Seasonally. Yeah. And let's say it's usually up to a quarter turn. Okay, so which is going to be, the action's a little high or the action's a little low, and it needs to be set. Whereas I've owned guitars where you swear that headstock's moving feet or inches because the strings are either laying on the fretboard or it's like a bow or an arrow, okay? To the point where, like, I had an acoustic guitar, I had to leave the truss rod cover off because depending on if that door in the bar opened out a lot and the temperature dropped 10 degrees, I had to adjust my truss rod between sets. Get the next. So this is what I'm saying. So if you have one of those necks on a guitar and you don't know it, Charles, all of a sudden you pick up the guitar and the action's 14 inches off the fretboard. You're like, this is junk. I don't want to play this anymore. Or if the strings are all fretting out, you're like, the guitar is broken. I don't want to play it.
Right, and that's the thing. You get something, and if it's too messed up, and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to do what it's going to take to get this where it's playable, right? It's right. Is that worth it to me? Based on what it is, right? And so I've literally cruised, something that I could get for a really great deal and turn it into something, but I'm like, it's really not worth the effort.
Well, it's like, and a lot of times too, you go to buy a guitar, new or used, 9 times out of 10, you're not able to really give it a good look. Like you're going to buy a guitar off, buddy, or even in the store. You think they're going to let you take the truss rod cover off and take just to look at the truss rod? Because for instance, that's the one thing I love about Gibsons. Okay, Charles, is the fact they use a nut. It's not some Allen-based contraption where I can't. The great thing about a Gibson with that nut, Charles, is you take off that truss rod cover because you know where the next playable is, okay?
Okay.
If I see more than 1.5 threads sticking out the end of that truss rod, I know it's maxed out because it's usually you're only going to get about 2 threads sticking out the end. If that truss rod's maxed and it's already in a bow, I know I'm not going to be able to straighten it.
Yeah.
I'm going to run out of room. Chances are, but if I know it's bowed and you look, oh, there's nothing on the end, it's barely engaged. Fine, so you have room to play.
This does not surprise me.
Yep.
So Ryan always used to be his own pawn shop. Friends came in the store and asked me how much, and he'd give them store credit, which meant beer.
Well, and that's the thing. You say it flipped a lot of cheap guitars in the 90s for that reason, because friends would reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I need money. You want to buy this? Sure. Always had a float going for guitars, Charles, for a number of years there. It was always had, $200-300 cash just in case. Because you never paid more than $100 for a guitar anyways, because they're all like Hondos and 80s Japanese stuff. Half the stuff's plywood. Not the good Japanese stuff, folks. Only showing up with ESPs and Kramers and stuff because you're in small town Ontario. You get Hondos, Profiles, Charvettes, Squires on occasion. Not many though. Not a lot of Squires either.
So I think we need to talk about something now here.
Oh, okay. What'd I do?
Well, a fella has recently gone over 5,000 subs.
A fellow did.
And so a fella's having a show tonight.
I am celebrating, if you will.
So
I was tempted to even buy a cold snack, Charles, an alcoholic-based cold snack.
Way, are you serious?
Yeah, I was tempted to have a tall boy of some beer, but I don't know yet. Although I have to go out after this, so we'll see.
It could happen.
I try, Kush. I try. I learned that from my father. I think I'm long-winded. Oofda, man. You watch some of those Father's Day shows, they're 3 hours and he only told 2 stories.
But they were great. They were great.
Yeah.
Right, so we know that Billy Baloney is on your cast of characters for tonight. Who else is going to be joining you that you know of?
Cousin Doug.
Excellent.
Because if you remember, typical in family fashion, invited himself on while live, where I can't say no last week and look like a dick. So, Doug will be on. Billy. Maybe Bo, aka Guitar Man 45. I'm not sure.
That would be great.
But those 2 for sure. And then, of course, others that want to join. I'm not roping you in, Charles. I know you got your day job here now and stuff. And I can't expect you to do double duty all the time. But which you did last week, though, and you were on last week. So if you don't want to, that's fine. I don't know.
Well,
maybe him.
I will see if I can't join it at some point. I know that that I've got something going that's going to make me a little late to the show. So, but
that's fine.
But I will be there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. People haven't. I said it on Sunday. I said it on Monday. Charles, reach out to me if you'd like to come on. Okay. Doug immediately invited himself on because that's how Doug rolls. Yeah, then I was at the grocery store the other day, and Billy texted me and said, "Hey, you got room?" I said, "Yes." Bought a telly and a PVT 60 from a buddy in jail. Nice. Called me from jail and set up as soon as he got out of jail. Perfect. Why am I not surprised?
There's a lot to process there.
There's hooligans. I'm just, and the funny part is, I'm not even thinking it's a criminal. I'm picturing more a Hazard County situation with the crooked sheriff locked up one of his friends. I'm just saying, like walking down the street while having long hair, which I'm pretty sure was a criminal act until the 90s in the South.
But here's the really amazing thing about your channel is that how much, because it's how much of this community follows each other around, and I think it really comes from the community that you've created on your channel, right? And the number of people that you've helped along, like you've helped me along the way,
right?
And so I want to take the moment to thank you as you're reaching 5,000. As you reach 5,000 subs, because of all the help that you've given me, and it means a lot, and for what you do for the community is incredible. So if nobody tells you that, it needs to be said. Hello, Lucas.
What's up, Lucas?
See, he can't stay, but he wanted to say hi and telling us have a great Sunday. Well, appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Missed you yesterday at the Water Buffalo meeting. We had a Martin. We didn't have a Lucas.
It can be a tough time for him.
Then we found out that's where we found out yesterday. Apparently, Martin is a dead ringer for Bo's son.
Oh.
And I said to Martin, Martin's going, oh, no, you got to see. We got all these family photos. Look, I'm like, shut the fuck up, Martin. You are his son. You know how much gear he has? Yes. Am I in the will, Dad? That's what I
yeah. So. You just write me in.
Yep. So, and I do appreciate the kind words on that, Charles. I just try to be me. I said when I started the channel, I wanted to be the next Phil McKnight. And then I realized, Charles, I can't be the next Phil McKnight because one, there's only one Phil McKnight, and two,
later, Kush.
He's way better at keeping it G-rated or at least PG-13 shows, because I've hung out with him on camera and I've hung out with him off camera, and he's the same dude, except way more potty mouth off camera.
Yeah.
Like I heard words come out of his mouth that I went, oh, I forgot about that swear word.
And I've heard him say that, and I've never met him. I've never met him in person or even on a call.
Right,
kind of like this or anything. But he was where I started when I came to YouTube, and I found you through him, and then from then I found everybody else through you.
And that's it. And he's been a big supporter for me, for years, because he's like more the merrier. And I will say, much like, and that's one thing I pay it for because, not to name drop, but early on, Phil McKnight, the Tone King, Shane from In the Blues, Steve from Boston, those guys. Those four, and China Mike, rest in peace, China Mike, CGS. Those guys gave me a lot of advice, and most of it was just be you, just don't try to, because, and that's when I started drinking on camera, stuff like that. Because I'm like, screw it, like it's sort of like okay. In the 60s, well, you got to be a Beatles fan or a Stones fan, right? And I was exposed to the Beatles first, okay, somehow.
Right.
And I'm talking early Beatles, right?
Yeah.
And I went, okay. And then I heard early Stones. And I saw the photos, and they kind of dressed the same, more or less suits and pretty short hair. But the Stones guys, I'm like, there's something about these guys. And then, sure, the Beatles kind of morphed into this kind of hippie thing. But the Stones stayed more true to their roots as blues rock. Easy there, Ryan. Easy. Stones are still selling out stadiums. I'm just saying. The Stones are still selling out stadiums and recording new material. Actually, their new song, I don't know if you heard the new song, Charles. I like it. It was catchy. Yeah. And, fun fact, bass solo by Paul McCartney on it.
There you go.
Distorted bass solo at that.
Well, it's at this point, it's amazing that they keep going. It's like, obviously at this point they couldn't possibly need the money, right? So it's got to be out of love for it.
They've always been one of the highest priced tickets out there for decades at this point. Well, basically since Steel Wheels, because when they came back, that was corporate Stones, basically.
Yeah, it's true.
They did Steel Wheels. I think Bill Wyman was still there for that, and then he dipped out after that, and then Ronnie finally became an actual member. He's no Nikki Sixx. That's true, BZ.
Well, okay. So now that you've hit the 5K mark, right? Where do you want to go with the channel? What do you want to do?
1 million subscribers. Honestly, no, I'd love to hit 1 million subscribers because that would show these vanilla corporate channels that fuck you, cool people can be successful too. Billy's back.
Hey, Billy.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just, just continual growth. And it, I will say it is becoming harder in a sense because I've interviewed a lot of the people I wanted to interview, and half of them I really don't have a desire to have back on as guests because, and it's not that they're not interesting people and stuff, but I've already got the story, Charles, out of them. I got the backstory, and I follow these people like online, so I already know what the current stuff is per se. And it's just, I don't know, just continue to cultivate friendships, throughout the industry. I'll say it here now for 2024 because I want to get Tom Bukovac on. That's the mission. I want to get Tom Bukovac on.
Well, Tom is lurking behind the scenes, and so Tom.
Well, I know we have several mutual friends, Charles. More by the month because people that then meet him that I already know, like Robert Baker. I've known Baker for years. He now lives in Nashville, and he's like, "Hey, I got this Firebird off Uncle Larry." Of course you did, and he's friends with Uncle Larry, because who isn't?
Put your link in the chat for Tom.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
And welcome in, Bo.
Yeah, good to see Bo in here.
Hopefully he'll be joining you this evening. Hopefully.
Yeah. And so, that's what's up with that. I remember waking up one morning to my paper and I heard Heartbreaker thinking we lost the Stones and gone too commercial. That was a bit of a low spot. Yeah, but it's not a 62. Well, there's only like 3 62 Firebirds in existence, Bo. That was the prototype year. Doesn't have a link yet. So apparently Bo is joining. He's like, I don't have to link it. Easy, Bo. I usually send about 20 minutes before
15 minutes before. 15 minutes. 20 minutes.
Yeah. Reach out to people you might not think are accessible. Well, and this is the thing. And then one of the things was, it's not so much now post-COVID, Charles, but pre-COVID, we'll say. Every time I reached out to someone of note, we'll say, now, other than fellow YouTubers, because YouTubers get it, but we'll say rock stars. Let's just call them rock stars okay? They see it as coming on here as like doing the Tonight Show or the Late Show or something. So it's what's your market penetration and what's in it for me?
Yeah.
Because you watch those shows, those talk shows, all they are is infomercials, plugging their new book, their new movie, their new album, blah, blah, blah. So, excuse me. So there is that. But now that the channel's getting bigger, thank you, everybody, 5,000, now you got a bit of channel size, Charles, I can play with. I got a little bit of clout, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you like get Tom on, and so I'm thinking we're about to make one of the things that I'm thinking now that you've got this broad expanse across YouTube. I'm thinking we're going to start to see some more soldering videos.
I don't think so. I don't think so. To the point where even the Nauticlon, that's a solderless pedal kit, and I still went, nope, no thanks. Actually, no, there will be some soldering videos coming because, like I said, I got to replace the output jack on that Lester Pulfus shaped object. Maybe. I used to be able to solder, and now I put out a video and all these, backseat quarterback people. No offense, Herb. All right, if you did this, blah 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 blah. I was like, look. I've been soldering since 1989. Graded on it in school. In fact, 4 years of electronics class through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the only reason I took electronics was to learn how to work on my own gear. That was it. So, you can solder, everybody could. So it's physical limitations too.
Yeah.
The ergonomic soldering is not cool. If they made a 90-degree soldering iron so I can keep my wrist straight and still have the soldering iron, rather than see, because turning in, then I get the shakes and stuff, and I think I got the fish in the wrist, the carp in the tunnel thing. I don't know. Fish in the wrist. I don't know.
That's hardcore. His cord for 30 years. You fix it.
Sure.
Why not?
Yep.
So, have you worked out the Cats contract going forward?
No. It's ongoing negotiations. That one. Yeah. But I do have a bunch of stuff I want to get done, and various projects and meetings with people and this and that. Like, my favorite independent guitar builder, he's living in the area now. I need to get over to see him. My other buddy, Steve, who has a Lato guitar, as well as some BC Riches and ESPs. He's a metalhead, and he's got some various half-stack amps over there and stuff, and he's good with the soldering. See, so as well, and he lives just over there now, and we've been meaning to get together for 6 months and still haven't.
Yeah. So. And are we expecting some more stuff out of Lambert Drive Studios?
If we can get out of here into here, yes. Working on that. It's weird, some of these tunes I got to bounce around in my head for years before I put them down on. I don't know, on digital. How do you say? Put it on tape? There is no tape. Put it on. Turning the music into ones and zeros. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. Actually, I should hit him up because Jason said he's free this month. So
I guess you could still go with get it in the can.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to track some more music. What it will be, I don't know. I even thought about doing some covers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite songs over here, but then why put in all that time and effort just for minimal payback the other way? I look at it is a business, Charles. I don't do it just for fun. I'm too old to do it for fun, as far as I'm concerned. I've always, and some people, just have fun, make music, have fun. It's not about money or anything. Sorry, again, go back to the top of the show. Based on my upbringing, Charles, I've been knowing it's a music business my entire life. Capital B. So,
Bo, I do have an opening coming in January.
There we are. So I like it.
So,
and I like Trev's idea. Why don't you do a spandex guitar? Because that's really easy.
I tell you that the t-shirt material working with Charles Green's guitar, it's in a lot of ways it's easier to work with, and in some ways it's more difficult to work with.
Yep.
So we're taking a little bit more time with it. It's coming out beautifully, but it's gonna take a little bit more time. Unfortunately, I had to step away from it for quite a while.
That's fine. I don't know what else. Not much, I'm not really lusting over any new gear. And the gear I do want is all expensive. So, for a guy that lives on a glary budget and now he's a fan of Gibsons, it's not good, Charles. It's not good at all.
It's not. And
there are no used Gibsons in the area. I'm playing the new ones. There's Charles.
Charles, you're too kind. You're too kind, buddy. Well, I mean, I know in past years you've done the year of this and the year of that.
Oh, I have. Yeah, 2024. We do have a year of. So I guess there will be some new gear in that respect. Do we make that announcement now, or do we save it till next year?
Well, I don't know. It might be something you want to consider for your show tonight. Maybe you get some interest in maybe things sent to you. And don't know. That could be how that gets funded. I'm
not sure. Yeah.
Year
of the Dumble. Nice.
Oh, very nice.
That's cool. Speaking of banjos, Charles. Speaking of banjos.
We should have pulled that up.
Foggy Mountain Spaceship, folks. Just saying. Foggy Mountain Spaceship. My new favorite band. Look up Foggy Mountain Spaceship Walking on the Moon.
It is worth the watch.
Well,
it is
in my chat tonight.
Yeah. We'll have that queued up because that was worth the watch for sure.
It was. So,
all right, my friend.
I also want to point out two quick things to Ryan Hall. One, Charles Green is with an E on the end. And two, Ryan, Keith is EI, not IE. I love you, Ryan, but please spell Keith's name correctly. You started doing, I noticed it when I went into lurk mode with the passing of my father, Charles. So for weeks on end, I'm lurking, watching all these live shows, and I'm seeing Ryan misspell Keith's name. And I want to say something, but I'm in lurk mode. I'm not in the chats. You almost got a text a couple times. Can you please tell Ryan how to spell Keith's name? In a fellow, please. I'm just saying. It's Keith. But I love you, Ryan.
Yes.
Consistent at least.
I tell you, love having Ryan Hall in the chats. All the support.
I do. He's
really
a character.
He's a really fun guy. Really fun
fits
guy.
So well in this community. He is such a character. He is such a character. Or just spell it with two E's like Ryan did. That's the other
There you go. Why not?
That's the name of my 67 guitar. Because because I had names of all the guitars, Charles, because they always stayed in the cases. They were never out like this.
Mm-hmm.
The masking tape, Keith, and Dad just looked at me and eye roll. Of all things, name it after that guy. I was like, hey, Dad, if it wasn't for Keith, Tellys wouldn't be known throughout the 80s, basically, because it was like him until the George Satellites came along.
That's true.
Nobody was playing Tellys. Well, you had some guys playing the Schecter Tellys in the early 80s, but they don't count.
Well, the thing that kind of amazes me about Tellys is you'll see guys playing when they're young, and then they'll go to other guitars, and when they get older, they return to the Telly.
Yep. And that's right. Don't forget to hit that like. Subscribe if you're new.
So, Ben, before we wrap it up, anything else you want to add? Anything we didn't get into? I mean, this
that's a good question. No, I think we covered most of the bases. I don't know. Check out my show tonight, or tomorrow night and stuff. I think everybody that's here is also Stephen Monk Bocelli. Are you subscribed to me? I'm not sure. He's the only wild card I've seen in here. That's Wayne made the trip over.
We'll give him a link again just in case.
Yeah. If you're not already, please do. Because he's a character too. I like him.
Yeah.
I always have fun chatting with him in your chats. I wish you continued success, of course.
Thank you
on your endeavors. Ryan will be live later today doing his thing. I'll be hanging out in Pete Thorne's chat at some point today, I'm sure. He'll be going live. And what else? I don't know. Thanks again for the headless guitar, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, everybody, thank you for joining us and keeping the chat going and adding into everything. It's been a whole lot. Ryan, Keith is saying sorry. Keith, Ryan is saying sorry.
This is why I love Ryan.
And looking forward to Ryan's show today.
You know what? I'm not even pointing out the fact he misspelling.
Oh, did you? Yeah, well, I was going to let that go too, but
I think there's one S as opposed to that's like misspelling. I don't know.
Well,
Ryan or William Silva with all the hand signals.
Yes, well, William is going to be my guest on Chatting with Charles next week.
That's right.
And then the week after that, Unfucking Believable.
Nice.
So
wow, that's going to be an early morning for him.
Yeah, it will be, and I'm glad he said he would do it. All right, folks. Thank you all for all your support. We had a great time with you. Looking forward to seeing you later this evening in both Ryan and Ben's shows and the chats there. And if nothing else, enjoy your guitar journey, and thanks for being part of ours.
Yeah, thanks, folks. See ya. Hit the like, subscribe, comment if you're watching on replay. You made it through the whole show.
Yeah, really, I know. They've been quiet. All right, cheers.